right. Welcome everybody to the Reckoning Brothers with Scott and Mark. Mark is not here, but I am here with our producer, Josh. Josh, I am happy to continue on our subject from last time that we kind of got into, but admittedly, I hadn't really looked up a lot about it. The subject was this question: is modern Western civilization showing us that religion is unavoidable? Unavoidable being the key phrase there. Did a little bit of research on this. There were two things that popped out to me, when I was bouncing things off of my good friend Claude 3.5 Sonnet, the AI.
Huh.
Do you know who Emile Durkheim is, Josh?
I do not.
So Emile Durkheim is a Frenchman who's dead, and he is also the founder of sociology, or at least he's kind of got that name, right? I mean, people argue when you look this stuff up. No, it's not really him. It's this other guy. But for the most part, people think of him as the founder of sociology. Now, this guy, real interesting dude, but his kind of main focus of work, I'd say, is obviously, since he's like the first sociologist or someone with that name, is sociology, but he kind of separated societies into two. And from what I could tell, he's like the first guy to really do this: small and large, right? So there's this small society that it works on the idea of having what he called the collective conscious, where there's almost like it's society's values and norms have their own, almost like a mind of their own, right? And this is called a collective conscious. A religion and everything is crucial to the collective conscious to a small society. Now, what's real interesting is he doesn't think that scales up. When you get into a larger scale society, it's different. What binds people together isn't this social cohesion caused by collective unconscious, right? It's not this collective values of norms. It just kind of fits with the society as its own entity. Now, people are basing their relationships with each other on their own interdependence with each other, right? So it's like, okay, now you like work at a bakery, so you're dependent on the truck driver that brings you everything, da 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 da, and all the crazy interconnectedness is really what brings us together. And he called it an organic solidarity. Now, the interesting thing I saw is he, from what I could tell, didn't really think that this collective conscious, this values and norms that he thought religion was crucial to in small societies was really necessary for a large scale society. And it seems like a lot of motherfuckers have been thinking this for decades and decades, that just because large scale societies are so different and they're just so interconnected and they're just so dependent on each other, it just kind of naturally doesn't need religion. And I think that when we were talking about this last time, I was saying that we kind of got away with it for a while because things were easy. And I think that this whole, at least of what the interpretations of what this Emile Durkheim guy thought, seems to be what we had the luxury of thinking because things were so easy and we were never really tested. That, hey, things are good. We don't need Jesus. We don't need Mohammed. We don't need Moses, whoever the Jews worship. Some kind of dragon, I think. I don't know. Just kidding. But yeah, you see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
I think that kind of is verifying what I was saying. That we, if it's good, we don't need it, and we don't need it until we do. But we now do. Does that make sense, Josh?
Why now?
Now, because we have problems that we didn't have before. Like, let's take something like, this isn't exactly what, but like school shootings, more like the deaths of despair, high suicide rates, school shoot. With suicide was something also that Emile Durkheim spent a lot of his life studying, which I thought was interesting. But suicides being so crazy high, just the mass shootings, school shootings, just general degradation and decadence. Don't you think that there's
I would think
challenges?
I would
Do
challenge.
what?
I would challenge that and say I think that's always been around. But I don't
It's always been.
where you're. I don't understand where the interdependence of day-to-day interactions with people can replace a subset of religion or have that gratification that would take the place of said religion. So I don't know. Can you expound on that a little bit more?
No, I can't because I didn't research enough of it to be able to expand on why he thought that, just that he thought that. And I was thinking about that too. I was like, so is it just be, and the answer that I kept thinking of is just because you don't have to, just because it's easy, just because, oh, now we have mechanized society. Now we have more food than we need. Now, our kids don't die all the time. When most, back in the day, if you made it to 15, you were lucky. We don't have problems like that anymore. So, you're not emotionally tested. But it seems like, I mean, we know suicides are up. That's what I think that's a good example, right? We know that's up, especially like middle-aged men.
I honestly don't know. Are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I wish I could remember the exact statistics. I can't, but I do know that they are up. Oh, as high as
Is
I
that
don't know in the U.S. as we've ever really measured.
is that correlate with the depression, like the mental health status of the country? Is that
I would say it has to,
and
right?
related to COVID isolationism?
I'm sure that all has something to do with it. I think it's really easy to blame everything on social media, and that's probably because everything's social media's fault. I think that a lot of it is. I mean, I guess it depends on the age, right? Excuse me, getting over freaking COVID. Speaking of COVID, if it depends on your age, like if you're a middle-aged person, right, you lose your job, that might lead you towards suicide, right? Because you get all your value and your meaning through your work, right? Young people, I mean, whether it's suicide or whether it's just depression or some other, the mental issue that they have, it's also a meaning related thing. But I think it's because they're forming their meanings when they're young. Like it's like someone your kid's age, teenager. The challenges they have are unique. They're not. We had nothing like their challenges, right? I mean, we had our small little group that we had to compare ourselves with. And then you had people on TV, right? But you just had your small little group that was basically it. But now you have social media and you're essentially comparing yourself to everybody, but you're not even comparing yourself when you're a kid to who they really are. You're comparing yourself to what TikTok shows. So it's the best face. It's the carefully crafted face that people all over the world are presenting. And that's how you're comparing yourself in your life
Have
too.
you
And
seen the Instagram pictures versus real life stuff? There's videos where you go to a place and it's a beautiful place, and Instagram you see it, and then they show the real life version of it, and
I
this
must have seen.
this photographer got the perfect moment when there was nobody there and there was no trash or nothing there, and then they showed the next one and there's like thousands of people there. It's yeah, it's carefully
Yeah.
crafted, what I was getting at.
Yeah. And when you're a young person, you don't know that that's not real, right? You have to live life and you have to be disappointed in everything that happens to you to understand that's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. You know, and just going through that process is so much harder, right? And this is like what I was going back to last time there about just having a bedrock and nothing really hitting that bedrock spot like religion does. And you have those challenges, you're being formative, you're comparing yourself to everybody else, and you don't have that. And I think it's most parents in America now are not religious. They categorize themselves as not religious. I may be wrong about that. That's something that we should look up.
Yeah, I think
But either way, it's a very high percentage,
yeah.
right? And I mean, even like someone like me growing up not being religious, my parents kind of were. And even having that, having them be that way was advantageous for me, even though I didn't feel that way. Because I think whether I knew it or not, that them having that was a bedrock for me somewhere in the back of my mind. If you're a parent now, a lot of them don't have that, right? You
Yeah.
know, it's more just ethereal, the things that a kid's parents believe on the average now. And it's, I mean, if you're a kid, you're figuring things out, you know, and you like to look for the bullshit and poke your hands in it, you know, and your parents don't have a really solid bedrock. It's yet one more piece of ammunition you don't have to fight this like constant barrage of things that are just fucking with your head and trying to make you mentally ill.
It's interesting. Go back to the premise you just said there. You know, the decline of religion that we currently have with parents, and how does that roundabout come back to modern religion is unavoidable?
Um, I guess by unavoidable, I mean that if you want to be sane and productive, you need the bedrock. Without it, you just don't have what you need to fight the negative parts of the world.
So what becomes the bedrock? And
That's
we
exactly the question, right? And that's what I couldn't figure out from. I should have spent more time looking at this guy because he probably has an answer. But for the Neil Durkheim research that I was doing, I didn't really see the alternative. It's just like, oh, you don't need it anymore. You know, but you do. You absolutely do. I mean, of course, when you're living in the late 1800s, you're not going to foresee the internet. You know, you're not going to foresee technological advancements like we have. You know, you're just kind of see, oh, people seem to be fine. I mean, I can see where this is going to be in the next 20, 30 years, and everything's going to be good. You know, and he was kind of right with a lot of Western civilization, at least. But I just as I think I'm trying to convince myself more and more that I'm right of what I said at the beginning here of religion being unavoidable, it just every time I see an argument that says that it isn't, or that oh no we can replace it with secular morality, I'm not buying it, and I think the mental illness numbers are backing me up there.
I think we talked about it pretty in depth last time, and we talked about several examples of what religion could take the place of, and I think we talked about corporate culture. We talked about
Mm.
Walmart and the conglomerates that force feed you the set of standard of clothing, the particular brands, etc. And I think that we touched on it, but I don't know if there's a specific answer, one size fits all for every person.
There, yeah, that's and there doesn't have to be. There just has to be something. We got to pause. Can you pause? My fault. My fault there, Josh. I had to answer the phone. Sorry about that. Sure, I'll catch some shit. I'm going to try to make that not happen in the future. I did do a little bit more research on another guy, Josh. Now, this guy seems to be in support of our idea. His name is Peter Berger, and he is an American who wrote a book in 1967 called The Sacred Canopy Elements of a Sociological Theory of Religion. So he, in the little bullet point breakdown of this book, here are some of the reasons why he thinks that we just need it. So humans just fundamentally avoid chaos and seek meaning. It's ingrained into us. And because we avoid chaos and seek meaning, we create religion inherently out of that seeking meaning. So seeking meaning equals creating religion, right? That seems to be his theory there. Also, the social order is maintained through shared values and norms. This is one of his big premises, which just seems like that just seems self-evident to me, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, so I was writing something down because I wanted to ask you meaning. Seeking meaning, is that seeking science? Is that knowledge? Is it truth? Let's define meaning.
That's, I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, he's saying so we inherently avoid chaos and seek meaning. So if we the way since the breakdown was putting both of those together, I would just say that meaning would be like the opposite of chaos, right? So it's some kind of structure that we need. And I mean, you think about it evolutionarily, it just makes sense that we would like, I mean, part of growing civilization is just creating meaning as opposed to chaos. Because chaos would just be everybody, us being a bunch of chimpanzees, just not even chimpanzees, worse than chimpanzees, where we're just like attacking each other all the time,
Yeah,
right? And but I guess it's deeper than that too. Like, but he's almost making it seem like it's just created. Meaning just is created by avoiding this chaos. Right. That's how I gathered it. I need to read the whole ass book though to have a better opinion of it. And it's on the list, but reading a whole ass book,
yeah.
it's a commitment, right? And I'm finishing that fucking Yuval Noah Harari book right now. You know that guy? That guy's great.
I do not
Everyone should read that guy. Have you heard of him?
have it.
Oh, he's great. Great. Yuval Noah Harari wrote this book called Sapiens. Everyone should read it. It's basically like his history of civilization, but not like a historic, like here's what happened in 1583. It's just more like how human beings evolved from hunter gatherers uh, to farmers, and like the cost and benefits. He spends a lot of time on that, from going from being a hunter gatherer to being a farmer, like disease and stuff like that, and just basically like lower standard of living, but yet we did it anyways. It's real interesting the way he analyzes all of it. Anyways, yeah, that's my best guess at what that means. Um, he's also saying, this Peter Berger gentleman, that the overarching meaning of the sacred canopy, which is, I guess, what he just calls religious institutions, which I guess would be dependent on the specific culture, but a religious institution is this overarching meaning, and it helps legitimize all other institutions, right? So I guess it adds sacredness. Think about our own government, right? It helps it be more legitimate if we feel it is more sacred, I think is the point that he's making. I agree with that. When I read that, I was just like, yeah, yeah. I think I felt that before in my life. Where, man, if we had a more sacred feeling about our government, it would probably work better. People would probably respect it more. And hopefully, if you had a job in the government and you thought, hey, I got a sacred job at this sacred institution, maybe you'd do a fucking better job. I don't know. What do you think?
How would the government develop this sacredness?
How would it develop the sacredness?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I don't even know if it can. I mean, I think the first thing you'd have to do is drain the swamp, right? You'd have to your priorities and your loyalties would have to be to your country over the people around you. I think that would have to be the first thing, and that's fucking easier said than done, right? You're in the trenches with people working right beside you.
Okay. Let me throw something at you there. So we have Notre Dame, uh,
Mhm.
sacred institution. Would you say so?
It's a Catholic school, right? I mean,
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily give it a sacredness. So if we're talking about sacredness, the 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 mythology of it, the reverence to it. One of their mottos is God, Country, Notre Dame. So they're putting country first, not Notre Dame first. They're putting God first.
hmm.
So maybe the reference you just made there.
It's like they're putting the sacred canopy
Yeah,
in there. So okay, you have God, sacred canopy. Then you have the country. Then you have Notre Dame.
yeah.
There's probably other things that need to go in there too, but yeah, no,
Well, I was just referencing the point you were making, and now I can't remember exactly what it was, but it felt like if the order was shifted, it could make the
Well, well, no, I think what I was saying was that our government would work better if people saw it as sacred. And you're saying that, yeah, if we maybe if the institutions put phrasing like Notre Dame does, maybe it would help. I mean, the courts are pretty sacred, right? They got the fucking Lady Justice with the blindfold on thing, right? Think of that. That's a pretty sacred way of looking at it. They've got shit written in Latin. What was that? You
have you
didn't?
Judge Judy?
Yeah, Judge Judy's great. I
I
think she's
wouldn't
dead now.
consider that sacred. That's what I'm saying.
No, no, no. But that's a TV show. But the court system is as sacred as any like institution. I mean, think of it. Well, you got columns like fucking Roman columns on your courthouse, and you've got the statue of the lady with the scales. I mean, that's at least you've got artwork that's alluding to it, right? That's sacredness. Sacredness is one step towards religion, and it's one step towards making it one of these institutions, sacred canopy like institution. You know what I'm saying?
We've gone round the bend.
We've gone around the bend. Yeah. I blame since I had COVID, I haven't drank in over a week. And I think that's what it is.
Is it?
I think that's a problem. I think I need that some alcohol to center myself.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the problem.
Gummy
But what's that?
or a gummy?
Yeah, I could probably use one of those too.
Hmm.
But I think that's. I mean, there's more to it, but we don't want to go on forever and ever. But I guess I was just kind of finding evidence to back up my claim more than anything, and now I need to go find evidence to the contrary. It's probably the thing to do, but I still can't shake it. I look stuff up. I listen to people.
It's deep. It's a good topic. We should continue it.
We should absolutely continue it. Should we bring Mark in on the subject? No, no. He would probably bring up Reagan, how Ronald Reagan is sacred and something, probably something like that. Yeah, yeah. That's where we'd probably go with that. That's my guess.
He might. I don't know. I don't know his
But yeah, no, we'll get back into it again.